Happy Friday, everybody. Excuse my voice. It's still a little scratchy. It's still remnants of the COVID. I don't think I've been 14 days yet, but I'm getting there, y'all. I am getting there. So, haven't been able to do my hair, but shit, this Louis scarf will just suffice it for Friday night. Um, this particular video is going to be about my introduction into the spirit world and how I got started. Okay, let me give you a little history. I was born in the Bronx, New York, and I was living and being raised in the Melrose Projects, which is, excuse me, excuse me. Let me get some water. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm back. I'm a little disappointed with the COVID. I haven't really been able or even had the strength to go to, if you guys ever noticed, I would go to Flowvilla, Georgia, which is Indian Springs State Park, and I would get my water from there. In the meantime, I'm drinking the bottled water. Do I like it? No. But sometimes you gotta wet your whistle. So, as I stated, growing up in the Bronx, in the Melrose Projects off of 153rd Melrose Avenue. I lived in the building 321, apartment 6A. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. And I was born in Lincoln Hospital in the 60s, in the late 60s. I was born in 67. And I was living in the Bronx at the time where New York had major blackouts. And it was that time when the Bronx, the South Bronx, got burnt down. The burnt down Bronx, you know. And I remember as a little girl hearing a lot of sirens going off. You know, there could have been fire, a lot of fire trucks, because as I said, the Bronx got burnt down. Fire trucks, probably ambulance, police. You hear a lot of people screaming and everything outside. And my mom and my stepdad, you know, sometimes we would go in the hallway and play with our little neighbors with our little flashlights or candles, whatever we had. And that's what also reminded me that when the lights go out, there's no water. Because I remember us going down to the Johnny Pump, which is really the fire hydrant. And there was a line. There would be a line of people waiting to get water for us to go back upstairs and use. And I go with the again. Excuse me. So I remember it was the night before where it was pretty crazy on all up and down 3rd Avenue. All the stores was broken into. Everything was set ablaze. In the morning, when I wake up, when I was young, let's say when we were younger, it wasn't the Cabbage Patch period time of dolls, but when I was growing up, it was Raggedy Ann and Andy. And my mother bought me this Raggedy Ann rocking chair. That's exactly what I had. And it was placed by my bed. So when I woke up this particular morning, I opened my eyes, and there's this man sitting on the rocking chair. He was see-through. He was clear. And I'm going to tell you, I had to been no more than 5. Because we didn't live in the Bronx too long. You know, we only there for like 8-9 years or so. But he was like a white guy, a white male. That's what he looked like, with brown shoulder-length hair. He had on white garb, and he was clear. He was see-through. And when I opened my eyes, he was just sitting there looking at me. And I'm looking at him. And he held his hand out for me to take his hand. I took his hand. I got out the bed. And he walked me towards the window. Now, when I looked out the window, what I saw was this giant rainbow in the sky. I mean, it was huge. It was beautiful. It was pretty. It was like 3D for me. Even though I was little, I was a little girl, but it was 3D. It was like so in my face. I was looking out the window like, wow. And at the same time, I could hear angel music because I was hearing like sweet music and singing, like harps being played, just like something like that. But it was sweet lullaby music. And I remember smelling like good smell, like spring flowers or summer flowers or so, because I remember that blackout was in the summertime when that happened in the Bronx. And he was still holding my hand, but he brought me to the window to see all of this, to see the rainbow, to hear the angels. That's what I call. They were angels singing, and they were playing music, and I could smell the roses, is what I would say. And then that was it. That was my introduction into the spirit world. I don't know who that dude was. Had I ever seen him again? No. But I know I have been having dreams. I've been seeing spirits. I've been sensing when there's a spiritual entity around me, because as I mentioned to you guys sometimes before, I could smell their perfume, or like not too long ago, somewhere near my bed, I just knew it was my mom because she was a cigarette smoker. And it was like I could smell cigarettes and perfume on top of it at the same time. And I remember leaning over because I was like, Ma, is that you? I smell them damn cigarettes, And then it had to have been her because I didn't smell her name. I didn't smell her anymore. But I wanted to share that with you because it came to me just the other day that, wow, that was the first encounter that I had with a spirit. And ever since then, my life had changed, you know. Throughout the years, we eventually, that's when, I say in 1976, was when we eventually moved to Flushing, Queens. But prior to that, all that time, we were in the Bronx. And we were a bit sheltered growing up because my mom worked daytime. My stepdad was like an armed security guard at night. And we were little. So we didn't go out that much. We pretty much had a skelly board on the floor in our bedrooms because the Melrose projects, the floors are black. Excuse me. The floors are black. So we would, my brother, my sister, she was extremely little. But we would draw the skelly board, hopscotch, whatever it is that we wanted to play. We just took some chalk and drew it on the floor. When we got to Flushing was when the dreams started to take place. Now, after that spirit took me to the window, I don't really remember. It was pretty vague if I was having dreams then, because I don't remember any. I just remember him taking me to the window. But after that, my encounters with spirits had been pretty surreal, to say the least. Pretty surreal. An experience. And through my life, like from, I say teenagehood is when I started to know, okay, there's something special about me. And I would pretty much get tarot readings. Like in New York, you could go, I would go, I think, off on 12th Avenue, 42nd, 43rd, different streets and stuff. I would go, or if I seen a sign, immediately would call me and I would go and get a tarot reading. I would get the extensive reading. Very little, I would get the palm reading, but I would still get it. They just wasn't in depth. Palm reading wasn't too in depth for me. I needed more clarity, and that kind of came with the tarot cards. I actually got my own deck. I got 3 decks of tarot cards. As a matter of fact, I started to do the card of the day, and then I don't know. I hadn't been as consistent with the card of the day as I should have, but I'm working on it. But that was something that I wanted to share with you. There's another incident with spirits where I could see spirits in the waking life, and I could see spirits in the dream world. And that's normally like I'm in the dream series where I'm mentioning things and how spirits and stuff like that can come to you in your dreams. I just want to share this one particular thing. At the age of 44, I had the heart attack. You know, I'm a heart attack survivor. And when I had my heart attack, you know, this is just for women too who don't know. I was looking for signs, everything on the left-hand side. Everything that I Googled was saying left-hand side, this, and the third. So I kind of dispelled that I was even having a heart attack. Because I just had this burning right here in my chest. It was burning. And it was like pressure. Like, oh, God, I don't even want to go back to that. But unfortunately, I wind up having 2 blood clots. And when I went to the hospital, I remember them giving me blood work because they kept saying we have to check your PT levels. You know, when you go in the hospital, they act like you understand the lingo of what the fuck that they're saying, and you don't. So when she said we checking PT levels, I'm just like, all right, whatever, check them. I'm still thinking I got heartburn, acid reflux, or something to that effect. And I remember the pain was getting worse in my chest. And I remember I crawled down to the bottom of the bed that I was in the hospital room. But as I crawled down, psychologically, I guess, I was calling the nurse because I was sick of it. I had been there all day, all night. They had admitted me and everything. And I'm like, okay, can I get an answer? So the nurse finally came in the room and she saw me at the bottom of the bed. Miss Murphy, what are you doing down there? Miss, my chest hurt. So she was like, okay, wait a minute. She went out, came back like 2 to 5 minutes later, and that's when she said, Miss Murphy, you're having a heart attack. And I was like, am I going to die? And there was a couple of other doctors that came in there. It was like not on our watch. So I just surrendered. I just laid back. I surrendered. I had IV here. They're drawing blood. The cardiologist came in and said, hey, in the morning, we're just going to take you downstairs to the cath room. If, you know, it shows that you're having something going on, we're going to fix it right there. So that's what happened. In the morning time, I went down to the cath room. This particular doctor, it was in my groin area. They put a cath there. Now, which was bugged out, when you're having a heart attack and they are giving you a cath, you're not totally asleep. I know I wasn't. I could still hear. And they'll tell you, Miss Murphy, we still want you to be somewhat coherent. You're not going to feel anything, but you don't have to be fully sedated. We still want to make sure that you're here. And I never forget where I could hear him saying, okay, Miss Murphy, I want you to look at the screen. And I remember looking, and he had this thing, and it showed the 2 blood clots. He said, so we're just going to get rid of those. He said, you got some plaque in your arteries. We're going to clean that out, and you'll be good. I was out. When I woke up, I was in my room. Now, because I had the cath in the groin area, you can't move for 8 hours. I had to just stay in my bed in one position for 8 hours. If I had to urinate or anything, they'd just bring me the bedpan. Now, in the morning, after the 8 hours, the nurse came to the room, and she was like, okay, Miss Murphy, I'm going to take your cath out. And there was another nurse with her. It was a young girl, Brittany. Young white girl next to her. And then the gentleman that I was with, he was sitting on the chair next to the bed. She said, so When I take this cath out, she said, I'm going to apply a lot of pressure to your leg, because that's the main artery there. And she said, if you feel lightheaded, dizzy, nauseous, or if you feel you got to throw up, let me know. So I was like, okay, fine. She removes the cath, and immediately I started feeling, I was like, hey, I'm feeling nauseous. So I was like going down, and I could feel this sensation like from the top of my head coming all the way down. And it was like, you know how when something falls asleep your hand, it was something like that, but I felt it like coming down over me, and I was out, but it was like I could still hear, and I could hear the nurse screaming at the young nurse, I guess, to hurry up and push something into my IV. And then I just saw blackness. I didn't see the light, which I'm glad. We'll get on the light in another video, but didn't see the light. And I came to like hours later. But the guy that I was with, he was sitting on the bed next to me. When I woke up, he was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, he was like, when they took the cath out your leg, he said, your face changed. He said, you turned colors. He said, you were gray. He said, you died. And he said, and then all these doctors, they was calling code red. And all these doctors came in. And he said, the lady literally got on top of me. I guess one, to hold the pressure so I don't bleed out. And I don't know if they was working CPR or what have you. He was devastated. My daughter was on her way at the hospital, so she told me, I remember her telling me, she said, he was crying, Ma. He was just like, your mother, she didn't make it. And I remember, though, as I was in the blackness, my mother came into the room. My mother was already passed away. She passed away in 2003. But she came into the room, and she was dressed as a nurse. And she was putting some fresh towels or something in a little cubby that you get when you go to the hospital. And she turned around, and she was like, hey, today. And I was like, Ma, wow, what are you doing here? She was like, listen, girl, you're going to be all right. She said, I just want you to know, stay out them restaurants. Stop eating out as much as you are, because you don't know how much sodium they put in the foods. And she said, stay away from the meat. It's poison. She repeated that 3 times. Stay away from the meat. It's poison. Stay away from the meat. It's poison. And she was like, just that quick. She was gone. And it was like I woke up, but I didn't realize. I woke up hours later. My room was crowded. And they was telling them, hey, if you visit her, please just let her get her rest. Just let everything be quiet. And, they just wanted me to rest so I could get ready, hopefully go home. I think I went home like 2 days later. I was fine. But I wind up getting 2 stents in. And it was like, wow, here it is. I had a heart attack. And when I had that heart attack, it was in March. It was cold. And it was actually March 6th, which I believe was the day of my mother's funeral. Her funeral was March 6th. When I was released from the hospital was the same day Whitney Houston was found dead. Isn't that something? So I just wanted to share that with you guys for the Spirit World series. And let you know, hey, they could come in all ways, shapes, size, forms, literally in front of you or in your dreams. So I was happy that my mother came, and that was also a way of me knowing that she was there with me, and she was giving me instructions on what to do to further along with my life. And that's how I'm here to share my experiences with you. So till the next time, enjoy, stay well, and stay healthy.